Okay guys, might as well begin the explanation of this homework here. Number one, you need both equations to be in slope-intercept form if they ask you to graph. So the bottom equation, I want to do it in blue. That one's already ready to go. The b value is -3, and from that point you go up 2 over 1, continue to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. This is my blue line that represents every single answer that exists to that blue equation. Now, the other one is not ready to go. You need to get y by itself first. So you'd have to subtract x and rewrite your equation. So the equation is going to be -2y equals -x plus 0. And of course, we want y by itself. You don't want that -2 in front of the y. So let's divide by -2, divide by -2, divide by -2. So we will end up with this red equation, y equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and there is an invisible 1 right here, so 1/2 x, and 0 divided by anything is still 0. So there's our red equation. So if we were to graph y equals 1/2 x plus 0, we know it crosses at 0, and I rise 1 and run 2, and I continue to rise 1 and run 2. There's my red line. This red line represents all the answers to this red equation, which was originally the top equation. So if you have all the answers of one, all the answers of the other, that common answer is going to be right there where they intersect, where they meet, which the answer there is the location 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. Of course, you could double check your answers by plugging it in to see if it works on both top and bottom equation. Jump into number 4. The top equation is not ready to graph yet, so what do I do? I need to get y by itself. What do I do? Add x on both sides. So I'll end up with y equals x plus 3. Let's graph y equals x plus 3. It crosses at 3. I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and use that pattern backwards to extend it in the other direction. There's my line. This red line really does represent the infinite amount of answers that exist to this top equation. This bottom one, y equals a number, that one's really easy. Remember, y equals a number, you go to the y-axis, you go to that value, and you draw a line through it. If it were x equals a number, you go to the x-axis, go to that number, draw a line through it. So the y equaling a number is going to 1 and drawing a horizontal line right through it. So this equation in blue crosses the y at 1, and we draw a horizontal line right through it. So this blue line does represent all the answers that exist to that bottom equation. The solution to this system will be that point of intersection, that single point that they share, which is the location -2, +1. So the answer is -2, +1. Again, you could plug in x being -2 and y being 1, and it should work for both top and bottom equation. It should be true for both. Last one right here, we want to get y by itself. So on the top one, we're going to subtract 2x, subtract 2x. We're going to have -y equals -2x plus 6. Final step would be to divide everything by -1, or you could just say change all the signs, right? Change the sign, change the sign, change the sign. So we will have y equals 2x minus 6. So that one crosses at -1, -2, 3, 4, 5, 6, way down here at the edge. And the slope is rise 2, run 1. You want it as a fraction, rise 2, run 1. So if you go up 2 over 1, you get a dot right there. Continue to go up 2 over 1. You could go all the way through your graph. This red line right here represents all the answers that exist to that top equation right there, or this red equation. Let's modify the bottom equation. We're going to get y by itself by subtracting x. Subtracting x, we're going to have 2y equals -x minus 2. Final step would be to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. My final equation in blue will be y equals -1 over 2x and then minus 1. So this one crosses at -1, and I need to go down 1 over 2 because the slope is -1/2. Remember, the positive or the negative just tells you if it's going up or down, but the run is always to the right. So I'm going to go down 1 over 2 and put a dot right there. Continue to go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. You could use that pattern backwards to extend it in the other direction. This blue line represents all the solutions to that bottom equation in blue. So we want that point in common. That would be right here, that location. That location is 1, 2 on the x, negative 2 on the y. So my answer is 2 on the x, negative 2 on the y, 2, negative 2. Of course, these answers should be on the answers provided. Let's say you didn't have the answers. You were taking a quiz. You wanted to make sure. All you have to do is plug in this 2 for the x. 2 times 2 is 4. Plug in the negative 2 right there. Negative becomes positive. So you have 4 plus 2, which does give you 6. You could take the 2, put it right there. Take the negative 2, put it right there. 2 plus negative 4, that'll give you negative 2. So you double checked it. It does work. So that's the graphing portion. We also have the solving that we're going to be doing. So we need to eliminate either x's or y's. Which one would you prefer, x's or y's? Definitely y's, right? Because all I need to do is change this 3 to become a negative 6 by multiplying everything by negative 2. Then the negative 6 will cancel with the positive 6. So again, please show your work. Please put parentheses around the equation that you will modify and put that value that you're going to be multiplying by. And actually distribute, maybe draw arrows to show negative 2 times 8x is negative 16x, negative 2 times 3y, that is negative 6y, and negative 2 times negative 5, that is positive 10. Now the bottom equation, we're going to leave it exactly the way it is. 10x plus 6y equals negative 13. We're going to combine the lines now. The y's did cancel the way I wanted them to. Negative 16 plus 10, that gives me a negative 6x. Bring down the equal sign, and 10 take away 13 is negative 3. So some of us are going to start to cringe right here because we end up with a fraction. But that's okay. Yep, x equals positive 1/2. Don't freak out. X equals 1/2. So we have one answer. You could do 0.5 if you want with the calculator. I'm going to leave it as 1/2. Now the question is, which one would you like to plug it into, the top equation or the bottom one? Top looks a little nicer. The numbers are a little bit smaller. So let me rewrite the top equation exactly the way it is. 8x plus 3y equals negative 5. But notice that instead of the x, I put parentheses because I want to take this x value of 1/2 and I want to plug it right in there. So when I say what is 8 times half, 8 over 1 times 1 over 2, that's really 8 over 2. What's half of 8? That's simply 4. Bring down the plus 3y, that equals negative 5. And you continue to solve by subtracting 4, 3y equals negative 9. So my final step will be to divide by 3. Divide by 3. Final answer is y equals negative 3. So let's write it as a solution to the system in coordinate format. So that'll be 1/2 for the x and negative 3 on the y. This is my solution. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump to number 8. Let's all work on number 8 together. So would you guys like to eliminate the q's or the r's? Q's, all right. So what would I have to do to the bottom equation to eliminate the q's? Multiply by negative 2. So again, notation is very important. Put the parentheses, put that negative 2. The top one's going to stay the same. Let me rewrite it. And the bottom one, we're going to multiply everything by 2. It's going to give us a negative 8q. It's going to give us a negative 4r. It's going to give us a negative 112, I believe. Yes? Okay, so now that we've modified the bottom equation, the q's are ready to cancel. So we're going to combine the lines. We're going to eliminate the q's. And we end up with negative 19r equals negative 152. So it's looking ugly. Right now is a great time for a calculator, because in order to get rid of this negative 19, I'd have to divide by negative 19. And 152 divided by 19 is, thank goodness, it is 8, right? So r equals positive 8. That's one answer. So how do I get the other answer? Substitute it in, plug it in. Which one should I do? Top equation or the bottom? Bottom. Okay, so let's go. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you do, actually. All right. So on the bottom one, we have 4q plus 2r. But instead of r, let's write down 2 parentheses equals 56. And I put the parentheses there because I'm going to substitute the 8 right in there where the r used to be at. It's now the r value of 8. So let's continue to solve this thing. We have 4q plus 16 equals 56. And then we're going to get rid of the 16 by subtracting 16. Subtracting 16. We have 4q. Sounds like a bad word, huh? Hey, 4q, man. No, all right, sorry. 56 take away 16, that's 40. Final step would be to divide by 4. Divide by 4, q equals 10. So the answer to number 18 as a coordinate would be 10 comma 8. Alphabetical order, right? Q and then R. What's 5q plus 5q? You're welcome. Okay, you didn't like that joke? 5, all right. 5q plus 5q, 10q, you're welcome. All right. Number 9. So what would I do? Multiply the bottom equation by 9. And if you want, you could actually put that 9 right next to each one. It might help you, right? Put the 9 right there, the 9 right there, the 9 right there. It's up to you. 9 divided by 3 ends up being 3 up on top, and 1 times 3 is 3x. The 9 and the 9 will cancel. You have minus 4y. The 9 and the 3 will cancel. You have a 3 left over, and 3 times 4 is 12. It just depends on how you feel more comfortable. If you want to write the 9 out here and distribute it, or you could write the 9 right next to each one. And that's the bottom equation. The top equation stays exactly the same. 3x minus 4y equals 12. They're both the identical equation. So if you were to graph both, it'd be the same exact line, which would be landing right on top of each other, which means that there's how many points in common? Infinite. So what's the answer here? IMS, infinitely many solutions. Of course, you're supposed to continue and say, oh, I'm going to multiply this by -1. So you end up with 3x minus 4y equals 12. Down here, you end up with -3x plus 4y equals -12. Cancels, cancels, cancels. 0 equals 0. That's always true. Infinitely many solutions. Again, there's a picture straight from the word wall right there. If you end up with something impossible, 0 equals 5, that's going to be no solution. If you end up with something that's always true, 0 equals 0, it's going to be infinitely many solutions. Number 10, you need to decide what you want to eliminate, either B's or D's. I look at the 4 and the 2 and the 2 and the 1. I'd rather get rid of the D's because they're smaller numbers to deal with. So I want to multiply the bottom equation by 2. That way, this positive 2 will cancel with that -2. So the top equation stays the same, and the bottom equation gets changed by multiplying everything by 2, giving us a -4b, positive 2d, and also a positive 2. Now, my intentions were to cancel out d's, which they did cancel. They eliminated, but we also eliminate the b's as well. So we have nothing equaling 7, and we know that when we have something that's impossible, we say no solution. You could actually write out the words no solution, or you could use the no solution symbol. Let's take a look at this next one. A lot of people get confused with this one. It's so easy that people get confused, right? What are they giving us here? They're giving us an answer. They're telling you x equals 1. So on any situation, whenever you know the x and you need to find the y, what do? Plug it in. You take that 1 and plug it into the x. So when we plug in, I hope you guys write it with parentheses. Now, you don't even have to in this case, but most of the time parentheses are the best option. So plug in that 1 for x. So the parentheses are absolutely not necessary in this case. You'd have to get rid of that 1 by subtracting 1, subtracting 1. Your new equation will be 3y equals 3, which means y equals 1. So what's my answer to the entire system? We have 1 for x, 1 for y. That's your answer. That's your solution. And jump into number 13 right here. What would you like to cancel, G's or K's? K's, G's? I want to go with the G's. To cancel out G's, all I need to do is multiply this by 5. and multiply the top one by 3. So the top one, when I distribute, 3 times 5 is 15g. 3 times 4 is 12k. 3 times 10 is 30. On the bottom, 3 times negative 3, or 5 times negative 3 is negative 15g. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25k. 5 times 7 is 35. So we're going to combine these lines. The g's cancel. 12 minus 25, that's minus 13 with the k. And 30 and 35 combined together is 65. So when I divide both sides by negative 13, I end up with k equaling negative 5, correct? So that's one answer. To find the other answer, you simply plug it into any equation. I want to go with the top equation. The top equation reads 5g plus 4k equals 10. Notice that I put parentheses instead of k because I want to take the k value of negative 5 and put it right in there. So I have 5g plus negative 20, or just minus 20, equals 10. So to get rid of the negative 20, you add 20 to both sides. We're going to end up with 5g equaling 30. So if I divide both sides by 5, we'll get g equals 6. So the final answer, in ordered pair format, alphabetical order that is, would be 6, negative 5. There are different ways of doing number 14, all right? Now you could view this 0.5 as a fraction 1/2, which then you could multiply the whole thing by negative 2 to get a positive, or a negative 1, which would cancel with the positive 1. Or you could just say, you know what, look, the positive 2y and the negative 2y, it's already ready, right? You could just deal with the decimal, who cares? It's ready to rock. Might as well cancel out those y's. And what would 0.5 plus 1 be? It'd be 1.5. So if you're not scared of decimals, you could deal with them. Equals 5 take away 8, which is negative 3. Okay? Now, with the calculator, you could, if you wanted to, divide by 1.5, divide by 1.5, and you should get your answer x equals negative 2. But let me show you a different way. Like, let's say you did not have a calculator. Okay, let's say you did not have a calculator. You could convert the decimal to a fraction. 1.5 is really 1 1/2 equals negative 3. And you could change that mixed fraction into an improper fraction by going 2 times 1 plus 1. That would be 3/2. 3/2 x equals negative 3. And then you could get rid of that fraction by multiplying both sides by 2. And you'll get 3x equals negative 6. And of course, your final step will be to divide by 3. And you'll get x equals negative 2. Same answer. Of course, calculator is a lot easier, right? But you could deal with it without a calculator by converting your decimal to a fraction, and then converting it to an improper fraction, and then getting rid of the fraction by multiplying by the denominator on both sides. Anyways, we have one answer. Let's find the other. Let's plug it back in. I'm going to plug it into the bottom equation. The bottom equation reads exactly this: x minus 2y equals negative 8. I'm going to replace my x with parentheses and plug in that negative 2 value. And I don't even need the parentheses because there's nothing to multiply it by. It's just negative 2 minus 2y equals negative 8. So let's get rid of the minus 2 by adding 2 and adding 2. I will end up with negative 2y equals negative 6. So my final step would be to divide by negative 2. And divide by negative 2, we'll get y equals positive 3. Final answer to the entire system, put it as a coordinate. The x value first, the y value second. And of course, you could plug in your x and your y to verify if it gives you 5, to see if it gives you negative 8, and it really does. Let's try one more here. Number 15. What would you like to eliminate, h's or z's? H's, okay, so I'd have to multiply the entire top equation by what? 3. So the entire top equation becomes 3h minus 3z equals 9. And the bottom one, we're going to leave it exactly the way it is. And now I could actually combine the lines and eliminate the h's, but then again, the z's also eliminate, so we get nothing equals something. No solution. So you could either write out the words no solution, or you could just put that right there. That's no solution right there. Why? Because 0 does not equal 15. That's an impossibility. And this video is done. I hope it helps.